Hey everyone, so today we're going to be doing a beginner scratch project. So in this project we have a game. The object of the game is to catch as many apples as you can in the bowl before the timer runs out. So I'm going to show you how the game works first and then I'll take you through step by step. So to get the apples to touch the bowl, we're going to be using our keyboard functions of the arrows, moving them left and right across the screen. So to get started, I'm going to click my green flag. I have my welcome from my character. There we go. Okay, so get the timer going. Okay, so as you can see, as the apples touch the bowl, let me get the bowl moving, they will hide or disappear. They just kind of move randomly. So if I miss one, then it won't disappear. Oh, let's try to catch some more before the timer goes. There we go, got another one. Oh, timer's out. Okay, so as you can see, it's a super simple game, and it's pretty fun to do. And so to get started, you're going to log into your Scratch account if you have one. And if you don't, that's totally fine. You don't need one for this project. So as you get Scratch up and running, you're just going to do create. So you're going to make a new project. And from here, we're going to go to the right-hand side of our screen where you see the nice little cat there. We're going to come down to the sprite box. And right where you see the trash can above the little cat, sprite 1, we're going to hit that trash can to delete. And then right in the same corner, right at the bottom, there's going to be a little circle of a cat. It says choose a sprite. We're going to click there. And we're going to search for our bowl. So my bowl just pops up right here. You can always search to if you don't see it immediately. And then now that's going to appear in our sprite box. So to start coding that, we want every time that the game starts, we want the bowl to start in a specific spot, same location. So to do that, we're going to need to set it, and then we're going to need to make sure that it's working every time the flag is clicked. So to do that, let's go to the left-hand side of our screen, over to our code blocks. It's going to be the yellow bubble called events. The very first one, when flag clicked, we're going to drag that block out. The next one, we're going to go back to the coding block. The very first one, the blue circle of motion, we're going to hit that. And then we're going to do go to X, it's going to be a number, and then Y, and then another number. We're going to pull that out, connect it to our when flag clicked. And we're going to put in -1 for our X. And for our Y, we're going to put in -19. And so for me, this is just going to make my bowl go to the center. So if you hit your green flag, you'll see, and then if I hit the stop sign, you'll see that the bowl goes to the center and the bottom of the screen. If you want your bowl to start in a different spot, the left or the right, then you can just change your coordinates or play around with that as you'd like. Okay, next we're going to create a loop. So a loop allows everything inside of it, kind of like nested, like a little bubble, to continue to run. So it's controlling whatever the controls are inside are going to continue to run until the game is stopped or until we create a different condition to make it do something else. So for this, we're going to do a repeat until loop. So going back to the left-hand side of your screen, we're going to go to the orange bubble that says control. We're going to grab a repeat until. We're going to bring that right underneath our blue block. And then next, we want to create the timer. Okay, so to create the timer, we're going to go to back to our coding bubbles, the dark orange one that says variables. Go ahead and touch that. We're going to do make a variable. We're going to name it timer. There we go, timer for this sprite only, and hit OK. So now you should see a variable in that section with the blue check mark there. We're going to take that timer, go ahead and touch that little bubble. We're going to pull it out on the screen. We're going to pop it into a block in just a minute. So what that's going to do now, as you can see right in the little coding circle where your bowl is, there's going to be a bowl timer. And so that's where the game is going to do the countdown when it starts. And so for next, we're going to go back to our coding circles here. We're going to go to the green operators. And we're going to go down about 7, and then you're going to see one that has 2 open spaces. Mine says number 50 in there with the equal sign. So we want to make sure that we have the equal sign. So we want our timer to equal a certain number as we're doing this. Okay, so we're going to grab that little orange bubble that we made before, the timer, pop it in there. We're going to change that 50 to 0. Okay. And what that's going to do, when the timer equals 0, that means the game is over. So we're going to take that whole green bubble, we're going to replace it in that repeat until space. So it's going to highlight white, and so that you know it's ready and you can just drop it in there. So now it's going to continue, the game is going to repeat until that timer equals 0. So until the timer runs out, that's what it is. Okay, so next step, we're going to be working inside of this loop here. So we've created our loop, and now we want to get all of our controls that are going to happen into it in there now. So we want it to wait. The next step is for it to wait because we do have a character speaking, so we want to make sure that it balances our time. And to do that, we're going to go back to our orange circle control. We're going to grab a wait. We're going to drag it right inside there. And then 1 second is totally fine. If you want to add more time, you can, but for this, just for right now, we'll just throw in 1 second. Next, we want to make sure that we change our timer, so it needs to be able to count down. So to make it do that, we're going to go back to our variables. We're going to do change, drag that one right under the wait. And then we're going to click from the drop-down menu, and we're going to hit timer. So now it should be change timer by. And we're going to change it by -1 because we're counting down. Okay, perfect. So we're going to create another loop within this loop. So within this next loop, it's going to do another timer. So if the timer goes back to a certain number, what are we going to have it do? We want it to stop and end the game. So we need to put that code in for it to stop to end the game once it actually does hit 0. And so for it to stop means the apples stop falling. Essentially, we need the apples to stop when the game stops. So to make that, we're going to grab another loop. Let's go back to control. We're going to grab an if then. We're going to place it right underneath our change timer by, still within our repeat until loop. We're going to go back again to our operators on the left hand side, it's the green bubble. We're going to pull out another green equal sign. We're going to put another timer in there. So go back to your variables, grab another timer bubble, pop it in that first space. We're going to change that 50 to 0. We're going to put that, oops, we can drag with the other finger. There we go. We're going to drag that inside of that bubble, the if then bubble. Perfect. So now that we got that set, if the timer equals 0, we want the game to end, we want the apples to stop falling, so we need to stop all. So to do that, we're going to go back to our control, the yellow bubble on the left, scroll down, it's pretty close to the bottom of that code section. It says stop all, and you're going to drag that right in there. Okay, so your first block of code should be done now, and let's just hit the green flag and see what happens from here. Not a whole lot yet. But if your bowl hasn't moved yet, if you haven't hit it before, it should move to the space that you set your X and Y to. Okay, so next we're going to move to the second block of code within the bowl. So we want to make our keyboard functions work, our left and right arrow. So to do that, we're going to get our when this arrow is hit. So we're going to go to our events. We're going to grab the second one down. For me right now, it says when space key, but you can put any controls in there you want to. Some people will do like A and D for left and right, any letter. You can really use any letter. Just for this project, because it is very beginner, using the arrow keys is just easier to know what's left or what's right. So from here, I'm going to click my drop-down menu, and I'm going to do my right arrow. And I'm going to drag another one out right underneath it. And I'm going to do my left arrow. And then next I'm going to go to my motion. So it's the blue bubble. And it's going to be change X by. I'm going to drag that right under the first one. And I'm going to take another one. And I'm going to drop that right under the second one. So X represents left and right. Your X axis is left and right. Your Y is up and down. So for this one, we're just moving it left and right. So we only need to change X. And so for the right arrow, we're going to leave it at 10. For the left arrow, we're going to make it -10. Okay, so let's try that out. Whatever keys, if you use the arrows like I'm using, let's move our left and right as we hit it. So we don't need to hit the flag or anything. We just see how it works. Moving the left and right arrows. And if you hold it down, it'll move it a little bit faster. If you hit one at a time, it'll move a little bit slower. And that's all we need for our keyboard functions. So next, we want the timer to start at 30 or anytime between 10 and 30 seconds is really good. If you want to make it longer, you totally can. But for now, we're just going to leave it at 30 seconds when the game begins. So to do that, we're going to go back to our events on the left-hand side, the yellow bubble, when flag clicks, we're going to bring that out. And then next, we're going to go to our variables, so our dark orange bubble. And it's going to be set. We're going to pull the set out, the very first one. And we're going to change the drop-down menu to timer. And then we're going to change the 0 to 30. Okay, so that is all of the code for the bowls. We have the bowl completely done. We can play around with it, move the arrow, see how that works. Awesome. So next we're going to bring our apples in, okay? And this is going to be really easy too because we're going to do a lot of duplicating. So once we make the first set of code for the apples, we'll duplicate it to as many apples as you'd like, okay? So to do that, we're going to go back to the right-hand side of our screen, right into our sprite box, go down to the cat, click on the cat. The apple is A, so it's going to be pretty close. You shouldn't have to search for it. Go ahead and click the apple. Perfect. So with the apple selected, we're going to start doing our code. So we're going to do a when flag clicked. So going back to your events, the yellow bubble, dragging out a when flag clicked block. Next, we want the apples again to show and hide as they touch the bowl. So as they touch the bowl, they will hide, and when the game begins again, we want them to show. So to do that, we need to make sure that they actually do come back and they don't stay hidden forever. So we're going to go to our purple bubble of our looks. We're going to slide it on down, grab a show, and place that right underneath. We are going to use a hide later, and since we're already in this code block, we can just drag it and set it off to the side. Okay, perfect. Next, we want the apples to start in a certain position, just like we did the bowl when the game begins. So for this, we want the apples to start at the top because we're trying to catch the apples in the bowl. So to do that, let's go to our blue bubble, our motion. We're going to drag out our go to X and Y. We're going to change the number in there to -22. And we're going to change our Y to 146. And again, you can have your apple start wherever you want. So if you want to see where that goes, just hit the green flag and you'll see, and then make sure you hit the stop sign. And you can see the apples are at the top of the screen and the bowl is at the bottom. Perfect. So next we want it to wait because we have our character talking and kind of introducing our game. So we want it to wait before the apples start to fall. So if you remembered where our wait was, we're going to go back to that now. So if you go to your control, it's the dark orange bubble or the light orange bubble. The very first one is going to be wait. We're going to drag that under our blue coding box there. We're going to change that 1 second to 5. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to grab another loop. So all of our controls are going to go inside this loop and it's going to tell the apples once again what to do while the game is running. So we're going to grab a forever loop. So we should still be in control from the last block. So we're going to grab the forever, bring it right underneath the wait. Good. And from there, we want our apples to start to move. They want to go somewhere because if they're just staying in one spot, that's not as much fun. So we want the apples to go somewhere. So to make them go somewhere, we're going to go back to our motion, our blue bubble, and we're going to pick glide. It's going to say glide 1 second to random position. That's the one we want. So let's pull that out. And I'm going to change that 1 to a 2. And you can play around with how fast or how slow your apples move. You can make them move super fast. You can make them kind of trickle down really slow. So you can take a moment to play with that if you'd like. Next, we want to keep our apples from disappearing off the sides of the screen. So if the apples kind of disperse too far off the side of the screen, they are just kind of hanging in limbo. So if the apples come to the edge of our box, kind of our sprite box here on the right, we want them to kind of bounce back within the game. So to do that, we're going to stay right in our motion. We're going to slide it on down, and you'll see a little block that says if on edge, bounce. So we're going to grab that and put it right under our glide. Perfect. So next we're going to do another loop. So we're going to do our if then. So go to your control, grab an if then, and bring it right inside the forever loop and under the if on edge bounce. Okay, so we're going to do our sensing next. So back to our coding bubble, it's going to be the light blue. It says sensing. We're going to do the very first one. It says touching. So go ahead and grab that touching and put it right in that if then bubble. So when it highlights, drop it in. And so what we're doing with our sensing, we're going to actually change it to the bowl. So that means every time, again, the apple touches the bowl, it knows to hide. So that's what we're going to add in now. So that's what our blue touching is going to do. So from that drop down menu, hit bowl. Then that hide we pulled out earlier, let's drag it in that block there. So if touching bowl, then hide. So again, we want the apples to disappear when we touch them so that we can like hopefully get to 0 apples by the end of the timer. And so that is what that's going to do there. And that is all of the code for the apple. So very, very simple. So now is kind of the fun part of deciding how many apples you want in your game. So to do that, we're going to go back to our sprite box here on the right hand side. We're going to either right click here, or you can touch it depending on your device. And the very first thing that pops up is going to be duplicate. And you're just going to hit duplicate. And you're going to do that as many times as you like. So however many apples you want in your game, you can do that. I'm just going to fill up the second row. And so as you click on the apple sprites, you can see that it already has the code in there. So you don't have to do anything else. And there it goes. All right. So next step, we're going to add our character. So whatever character that you want to introduce to your game, we're going to add that now. So coming back to our cat at the bottom where we choose our sprite, go ahead and select there. I'm just going to select Abby because she's first and she's right here. And then we can also move her to go anywhere that we want her to start. I'm just going to have her hang out right here for now. Okay, so with her selected, we want to get coding for her. She's not really going to do a lot. She comes in at the beginning of the game, she introduces the game, and then she essentially goes away. She hides. So that's what we're going to do for her. So going back to the coding bubbles on the left-hand side, we're going to go to our events, drag out when flag clicked. We're going to go to our looks, slide it on down. We're going to pull out a show and a hide. We can put the show in now. We're going to use the hide later. And then we're going to do a say. So we're going to come back up, grab our say for however long. We're going to add it in now. And I'm going to type in, you can type in whatever message you want to kind of greet the user that's going to play the game. Let's go apple picking. Pick as many as you can. Let's see. Before the timer ends. Perfect. And I'm going to make this for 5 seconds. And then I'm going to connect the hide that we pulled out right underneath it. And that's all the code for our character. So the last step before we play this game, we're going to choose a backdrop. So our backdrops are going to be found right next to where our sprites are found. So in the right-hand side of your screen, you're going to go down to the bottom corner. So you see choose a sprite. Right next to it, it's like a little picture. And then it says choose a backdrop. Go ahead and click that. And so you have a variety of backdrops. For this project, I'm going to use the forest. And that's what we have there. So to play the game, whenever you're ready, if you haven't already, hit your stop sign and then hit your when flag clicked and see how your game is running. It should be working perfectly from there. I move really slow with my arrow, but that's how the game is working. I'm going to stop it there. And there you go. If you want an extra coding challenge for this, you can add maybe an end message for when your game ends. Maybe it pops up and it says something. Maybe your character comes back and, says, "Yay, good job, you won," or "Try again next time." So there's some extra things that you can try after you've done the basics of this project.